All right, there we go. It should be popping up. Yep. All right, we're looking good. Let's just make sure everything's working. All right, we're looking good. Yep, I can hear it. Everybody else should be able to now. All right. Yeah. Big morning so far. A lot of moves. Let's start off from Tom Pelissero early this morning. So I'm getting ready to go to the gym, and I wake up right away. And I open up my phone to find that Jonathan Allen has signed a 3-year, $60 million contract with the Minnesota Vikings. Very excited about that. Played very well against the Lions in the divisional round. Excuse me. Played very well against the Lions in the divisional, and actually played pretty decent. I was watching some of the all 22 from the Eagles game while I was at the gym, and I was just excited. Just pumped about Josh Allen being a Viking, and then I scroll up on there and I see that Javon Holland. I mean, that was what I was saying. I was there as well like this morning before I got there, and I saw Javon Holland signed with the Giants, which is fine. And then I see this absolute blockbuster right here. Vikings have agreed to terms with former Colts guard Will Fries. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that Will Fries was a Viking. My first instant thought was, how did they pull this off? And second off, it was they actually did what they said they were going to do. They said they were going to build an offensive line, and that's what they're doing. And then right after that, Javon Hargrave also plans to sign with the Vikings. So, I mean, on top of everything so far, this is probably one of the best off seasons I've seen. Two of the best back-to-back off seasons I've seen as part of my Vikings fandom. And yeah, I got the Twins shirt on today. Still got the Viking socks on, still repping the Vikings, but just a little bit more comfortable. It's a nice day here in Minnesota. It's a little windy, but it's nice. But yeah, Javon Hargrave. So I looked at his PFF stuff. Good pass rusher, doesn't really stop the run. Same thing with Allen. Allen, I think, does probably play the run better than what PFF says, but Hargrave is probably going to be just a rotational passing downs, kind of get after the quarterback type of guy. And then, Daniel Jones going to the Colts. Thank gosh the Vikings didn't sign that. It's a 1 year 14 worth up to 17.7 million, which is insane. And then you have Sam Darnold. Basically, everybody's saying what Vikings fans were saying. McCarthy is the starter this year. O'Connell and Kwesi basically put their careers on the line for him. And then this one just popped up. Laken Tomlinson on a 1 year, $4.25 million deal going to the Texans. The former Lions, 49ers, Jets, and Seahawks lineman headed to Houston. That does make sense after all of what has gone on with the Texans to this point, because they just traded away Kendrick Green to the Eagles. We'll look at the Vikings here in a second. They just traded Kendrick Green away to the Eagles, or Kenyon Green, whichever. And now they get to bring in Laken Tomlinson on a depleted, terrible offensive line. This is definitely a Tyler Booker spot, definitely a Josh Connerly spot, definitely not thinking Blake Fisher is going to be the guy to start. Maybe he is. Maybe they trust him at left tackle, but he was terrible at right tackle. Titus Howard probably shouldn't be starting on this team anymore either. A team that just a couple of off seasons ago looked so, just last off season looked so poised for a great future is now a team that I'm not sure a lot of people are going to trust to make the right decisions based on their young talent. I mean, I feel like they've really mismanaged this. The defense is obviously nice. It's DeMeco Ryans. He'll make do with what he has. Same thing with how most defensive coordinators are, defensive-minded head coaches. But I can't help but wonder, what are they doing on the offensive line? You trade away Laramie Tunsil. You trade away not even trade away. You released Shaq Mason. Now, yeah, you've traded away another starting guard who wasn't good. So I mean that's fine. But I do like bringing in Laken Tomlinson. He'll be a steadying force on that offensive line, and he'll do well there. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, and there was who was it? It was Gatsby, I think, was who I saw this from. Very happy today with the Vikings. So just give me a second. I'm gonna be um, trying to find this guy. Um, I'll look to see. Oh, here's my post talking about cap space. Yep, there I am predicting Milton to the Vikings. Glad that didn't happen actually at this point. Sounds odd, but he is a ton of money. Let me see if I can find this post on the Vikings. Yeah, and Miles Sanders getting released just happened too. So that's another thing that everybody's kind of freaking out about. I bet he goes back to the Eagles, or he'll go to a team with a decent offensive line. Look for Garrett Bradbury to be traded. Dougie also know that Bradbury and Kelly are represented by the same agency and that Atlanta could be an option. Trading Bradbury would leave $2.4 million in dead cap for the Vikings and $3.6 million in salary for the acquiring team. The Vikings could look to make a move at the edge rusher position mentioned. Darren Wolfson re-signing Jihad Ward or signing Draymond Jones for two possibilities laid out by Wolfson. Jones is another player that wouldn't go against the comp picks due to Seattle releasing him. So there's more news on the Vikings. Yeah, I'd rather just have Jihad Ward back. He's just one of those guys in the locker room. It seems like that kind of is a glue guy, and I think that is a huge pickup. I'm gonna see if I can find this. I might have come from Bikesologist. Bikes Insider might have had it too. There's a ton of guys that I think might have had this. No, he does not. Viking Central, maybe. Central. Bikeologist. There we go. I think he probably had it. Yeah, here's another one. Another local guy, Ben Gessling, just an NK fan, that Cooper Kupp to Minnesota could be very possible. This makes sense for all the reasons that are Cooper Kupp knows O'Connell, knows the scheme, likes Kevin O'Connell. They have a good relationship, it sounds like, and I think that would be definitely a move to watch for. I don't see that anybody has it. Yeah, here's the Jimmy Fowler Will Fries tweet. Yeah, crazy. Javon Hargrave as well from Pelissero. I saw those and I just went crazy. Oh, here he is, Gatsby. From Zach Gatsby, passionate New England Patriots fan and writer, but he's been covering a lot of Viking stuff today. Vikings showing interest in free agent quarterback Mac Jones per source. A dark horse signing could be Russell Wilson, logical fit to push McCarthy in camp. Aaron Rodgers likely picking between Steelers or Giants. The Patriots cap space is at $79 million after Williams, Landry, Spillane, Moses. Deals are set, still pending guarantees and signing bonus details. And the Vikings sit at $30 to $40 million in cap space after free agent signings. Hargrave's contract details still pending. Yeah, so that's huge. I did project Will Fries to go to the Patriots, but I'm happy that he didn't. I'm happy he's a Viking. Let's try to get this stream out to some people first, too, before we get too far into everything, because I want to be able to talk with some of you guys. Yeah, I do have a different account. We're just going to switch over real quick. We'll go to myself, view your channel, and yeah, we're going to try to push this out shared on X. Um, yeah, we'll post that. Get out of there. Get out of YouTube. But yeah, so Gatsby's one of those guys that I'm actually gonna follow. He does a lot of good stuff. It seems like he had yesterday. Yeah, Vikings talks with the tackle Jonathan Allen have progressed per source. Significant progress made. A deal likely to bolster Minnesota's D line in free agency. Then he updated about 30 minutes later. Update Vikings D tackle Josh Allen talks paused tonight. He's left the facility but stays in Minnesota. So he had that last night. So waking up this morning, seeing the deal getting done, if you trust this guy, probably wasn't a bad idea. And I listened to him. I would be. He seems to have some inside stuff on the Vikings and the Patriots, which is kind of an interesting combination of teams. But yeah, you'll take it. And again, I think there's a lot of moves to be made today. Aaron Rodgers still needs to find a home. You have Diggs needs a home. J.K. Dobbins needs a home. And I think we'll go through those. First, I want to talk about, not that I haven't talked about them a lot, the Vikings. Obviously, my team, I want to talk about them a little bit first. And with that being said, I think if you look at where they are at, I mean, this offensive line is phenomenal with Darisaw, who's better than the 11th ranked tackle. I'm just going to say that. O'Neal was better than 16. Both those guys were phenomenal. Hawkinson, Addison, Jefferson, maybe even Cooper Kupp and Naylor, McCarthy, Aaron Jones. And you could look at a Tyler Booker deal. You could look at in the draft, of Donovan Edwards. You could be looking at Gray Zabel, Tate Ratledge in the later rounds, Jared Wilson. So if Minnesota wants, maybe they look at like a Kenneth Grant, a Malachi Starks, a Benjamin Morrison maybe in the second round if he falls, Siobhan Revel in the first round. Now this is allowing Minnesota to kind of look outside the box, because if they want to move back into the second round, maybe get a second and a third, maybe you're looking at the Tate Ratledge, a Jared Wilson that can move out to guard, and then you're looking at a running back in the second, and Deion Walker. Like, Minnesota has so many options now with the stuff that they've done that it's not a surprise that Will Fries was such a high priority, that Hargrave, Allen were made such big priorities for this team because they needed to make those moves to be better. And that's just how. And I have to give it to Kwesi. He's done an amazing job, and they still have 30 to 40 million left. And for me, your biggest need right now then is either maybe another guard, or maybe you're looking at cornerback and safety. The cornerback markets, I know Fulton just came off the board, went to the Chiefs, a guy that I liked. Still, there's Jeff Okudah, Kendall Fuller, Jonathan Jones, Mike Hilton. Murphy can play outside. You have Blackman outside. You have Isaiah Rodgers who could play outside. And you still have guys like Eric Stokes, Asante Samuel, guys like that, Benjamin St-Juste, guys that I think Flores would look at and be like, hey, I can do something with this player. So I think all those are still on the table. I think if you're looking at safety for the Vikings at this point, they weren't paying Bynum 15. They weren't paying Morig 7. Excuse me. They weren't paying Morig 17. They weren't going 15 on Holland, 15 on Hufanga. They just weren't going to pay the safeties. And that's why they paid Theo Jackson, which is something that I think is kind of getting overlooked. I could see a Justin Simmons deal. I think, however, Harrison Smith comes back, but Justin Simmons makes sense at a cheaper market. Marcus Epps, if he's cheap, 1.8 makes sense. He's been in Minnesota before. Maybe he comes on back. You're looking at guys like Mike Edwards, maybe. I think you're starting to look at guys down the board here, and I think that's still a position of need in a sense, but it's not the overarching need that I think corner is, that guard was. Now that offensive line is looking like an elite offensive line. And again, I think Amari Cooper still being out there, Keenan Allen, Brandon Cooks, Deontay Johnson, Tyler Lockett, D-Hop's retired. All these different position players looking for homes. They're going to have to find some soon. And I could see some of these guys maybe thinking, hey, I'm going to go to Minnesota and play there for a little bit. I could see running back still being a position that Minnesota looks at. Like, does J.K. Dobbins get the deal he wants? Does Minnesota look at Gus Edwards as a power back? Does J.K. Dobbins, like, what are they projecting his market to be? 4.1 million. Does Minnesota go 5 on J.K. Dobbins for a season and just let him and Aaron Jones run? Like, they have 30 to 40 million. I wouldn't be upset at it. Nick Chubb coming in for cheap. Rico Dowdle, I'm not sure his market's going to be as big as he probably want, but he's, again, you could have J.K. Dobbins come in and split reps with Aaron Jones, keep them both healthy, make it a 1-2 punch. So Minnesota now is a wild card team in a lot of different ways. And I thought, yeah, Gatsby, Vikings offered Holland 21, but he decided declined. I'm not sure that's real if he signed for 15. Maybe he got a bad one there, but I mean, he was correct on Jonathan Allen. He was correct on a ton of other things, so I'm not going to discredit him. And the Commanders have agreed to terms with safety Will Harris in a 2-year, $8 million deal from Rappaport. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, the Commanders have agreed to terms with safety Will Harris on a 2-year deal worth up to $8 million with a max value of $10 million. Former third-round pick of the Lions heads to Washington after a season with the Saints. Yeah, it is what it is. I really thought the Commanders would be bigger players to this free agency, and that's not to say that they've done bad, but I mean, missing out on Sweat, even missing out on Harold Landry, but there's still Joey Bosa, Von Miller, DeMarcus Lawrence, who I think is a Bronco still. Missing out on. There's not a whole lot here. Maybe they just wait to the draft. Maybe Calais Campbell, and they already got their. They signed Kinlaw to a huge deal. How are the Vikings doing today? The Vikings are actually doing amazing. They're one of my favorite teams so far. So I think they are doing phenomenal. Um, yeah, I can't under or overstate how well they've done. Give me just 1 second. Yeah, yeah. Alright, well, I can figure out how to do what I wanted to do, so we're just gonna head back and see what the news is. There has been a little bit of somethings. Alright, well, I can figure out how to do what I wanted to do, so we're just gonna head back and see what the news is. There has been a little. Michael Silver's got a little bit of something, maybe. Not really. I'm not sure why this has to be reported. Maybe there's something going on. Oh, I spelled Michael wrong. My bad, Michael Silver. In the Vikings organization, Kevin O'Connell's opinion carries the most weight when it comes to the quarterback decisions. There are some very interesting conversations taking place right now. People really thinking it's Aaron Rodgers. I'd be pretty disappointed if that's the case as a Vikings fan. I wouldn't really be the happiest. And I'm not sure how I'd feel about that. Yeah, just kind of scrolling, seeing if there's anything. Doesn't really look like anybody's got anything too massive. We'll go back to this guy. He does a good job of posting the news. Sometimes I think he gets a little over his skis. If I could spell today, holy smokes, the Purple Persuasion. Yeah, I can't spell purple. That's bad. If you're looking for Vikings news, this guy's pretty good at it. Yeah, again, maybe there's an idea of Kirk Cousins coming back. So that's kind of an interesting take I've seen some people have, which would be cool if you wanted to come and mentor McCarthy. He's been in the system before, which would be nice. Look for Garrett Bradbury to be traded, says Darren Wolfson on Score. North Doogie also noted that Bradbury and Kelly are represented by the same agency, and Atlanta could be an option. Trading Bradbury would leave $2.4 million in dead cap for the Vikings and approximately $5.1 in salary for the acquiring team. If I had to guess, the team's probably not going to pick that up. And if we go to over the cap again, we're looking at some of these contracts, which, again, yes, the Murphy one, is he 35 total guarantee, fully guaranteed at 35, which isn't bad at all. I like that a lot. I could see a guy like Jair getting released. I think that's a tomorrow thing, a today thing. Maybe if the Vikings don't send a DB, a cornerback, that's where we're looking. I wouldn't be all out on stuff like that. But again, if we look at teams with cap space now, I'm not sure if this is updating. I'm sure it's not. So let's go to some teams. Let's go to the interactive tables. Where's that at? Interactive, yeah, cap calculator. So I'm going to look at the Vikings first. We can go through some of these teams. There's really nothing going on for news right now. So we're kind of just waiting on some of these other dominoes to start to fall, like Stephon Diggs and other guys like that. But again, Bradbury's usually a safe restructure. He usually takes a deal. I would bet Hawkinson might as well. Van Ginkel might even restructure. So again, we're looking at the Vikings now. I think this is before probably all the signings happen. Like, I'm not sure Murphy's deal is on here. Isaiah Rodgers is on here. I'm not sure if they have the deals of Ryan Kelly then or Jonathan Allen. But again, this is just showing that the Vikings still can create space. And this is just for the sake of argument here. If we look at a post June 1st cut, the Vikings just outright save $5 million off of Garrett Bradbury alone. I can definitely see that being the case. Again, Josh Oliver could be a cut candidate post, or cut post. I guess I put that as trade cut. Okay. Nope, that was cut post. He's still 5. Cut post. He's 8 for Josh Oliver. So maybe he's looking at a restructure, just a pay cut. Brandel could be in the same boat. He might just be a cut and bring back kind of guy. I think Um, Cutting Ed Ingram's definitely on the table, and I wouldn't be surprised if that comes out today. That's about 3 million gone, or maybe they trade him. I could see a team like the Eagles being like, "Hey, Becton's gone. I know they brought in Kenyon Green, but I could see them bringing him in and saying we're going to try to develop this. I could see Ty Chandler being another one. So $1 million here, $1 million there, 5 million off of Bradbury. You could get 8 off of Josh Oliver, which is something then to take into consideration when you're looking at the tight end market. Because then does that mean Minnesota maybe is in on a guy like Tyler Conklin, but he's at 9. So does it really make sense? Does it really make sense? Maybe Harrison Bryant's one of those guys that Minnesota looks into. Like, hey, we could get a cheaper tight end here, and he's younger. It's going to cost less. Maybe we do that. Maybe we go that route. I'm not thinking Josh Oliver's gone. I think they're pretty confident in his ability, and he's proven the past couple of years that he can step up and play at a decently high level. So I think that's fine. He's a good duo with Hawkinson, but I just can't imagine how Saints feel watching other NFC teams significantly upgrade their roster and they're stuck with Derek Carr. Yeah, it's not great. Gatsby Spillane's 3-year, $33 million base, max of 37.5 million per source, 9 million signing bonus, 11.6 guaranteed, 2025, 3.3 million base, 1.14 up to 1.5, and incentives run through the 2027 season. Yeah, so right now, not a whole lot's going on. Nick Emenware would be awesome as a Viking. I would love that. I'd also love Tyler Booker, Gray's Abel, another guard. I think that's definitely in the works. Maybe Brandel stays. Maybe they think Brandel played well enough. I could definitely see Cam Robinson being a guy that's going to New England now, especially with the loss of Will Fry there. Um, there's just a lot of different options for a ton of different teams, and I wanted to go back to positions. Yeah, and I want to show just how good this deal is with Will Fries. I don't know where they have him ranked at. I would think he's a right guard. So Aaron Banks averages 19, Jonah Jackson 17. Will Fries, the newest Vikings guard, is at about 17 and a half per year. That's going to put him below Quinn Mainers, and that's also, so that puts him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from the top, although that's probably now 5 from the top with Martin retiring. But that also puts him like in that Jonah Jackson, Elton Jenkins range with Joe Tooney and Joel Batonio. He's just a little bit more expensive than these guys. Still less than Aaron Banks. He's about $2 million less than Aaron Banks. Less than Quentin Nelson, less than Landon Dickerson, and Ben Bredesen getting 22 is insane. He is definitely not that good. Then you look at the center market, like Ryan Kelly had a 12 and a half. He's down to 9 now for the Vikings. I mean, Andre James will probably surpass him once he gets his deal done wherever he goes. Which I think if the Bradbury domino falls, then that's where that goes. Or maybe after that domino falls, then you look at Bradbury in a different light. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. We can look at some of these lucrative deals that we've seen. I'm not sure. Josh Sweat got 19, so he's about in the Grenard range. I would say they're about similar players there. Yeah, Montez Sweat getting 24 and a half still. It's kind of crazy. We're waiting on the Joey Bosa deal too, which I know I'm just kind of jumping around, but there's not a whole lot going on. We're still waiting on Joey Bosa. That's another one. We're waiting on Aaron Rodgers. We're waiting on a ton of different guys. Still nothing's really coming out. It's alright. It's been kind of slow so far. Just give me 1 second. But yeah, I mean, this 19 guy I keep seeing on Sam Darnold's highlight reel is really good at football. I would think so. That's something I would probably bet on. If Kwesi can pull off signing Fries and Allen, it'll be extremely. Yeah, I'm not sure there's a Vikings fan that can't be happy. Yeah, we're just gonna keep saying this. They better not ruin this by adding him. Oh, they're talking about Aaron Rodgers here. Yeah, I'm not sure this Aaron Rodgers to Minnesota stuff is coming from. I'm not sure. I'm a huge fan. Um, but you never know. Weirder things have happened. Like Brett Favre came to Minnesota a long time ago. Excuse me. Yeah, and who else is a team that's really upgraded a lot? The Bears. That Bears offensive line I like. Dahlman. Dahlman is, yeah, he's a good run blocker, not great in the pass. It'll be interesting to see how he does now. It'll be interesting to see how this whole offensive line does with a whole new interior, just like what the Vikings are going to be doing. And I think that helps out a guy like DeAndre Sweat, and it helps out Caleb Williams and Grady Jarrett on the defensive line. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of fallen off, but it's the same thing as like a Jonathan Allen deal, except I think Allen's been a little bit more productive over the past couple of years. And I'm not sure he's as old. 31. Allen's like 30. So I mean, there's a 1.5, 2 year difference between the two, which is fine. I mean, it's a good pickup for the Bears. I don't know how I feel about Deo Odenbo coming in. I mean, you're betting on the trades. He's 25. It could definitely work. Montez Sweat's kind of the same thing, except we haven't really seen him have that guy across from him, which I'm sure has hurt him, along with that whole defensive line just not being good isn't helping him either. Looking at the Bills haven't really done much of anything. Lost Miller, they're letting Ebenezer run, they're letting Russo run. They brought in Joshua Palmer. Other than that, I mean, their offensive line's pretty set, so I don't see why they'd feel a need to do anything there. I would have liked to see them pick up a safety, but again, Nick Emenwari in the draft, Kevin Winston. There's just a ton of different options. So I mean, it it'll be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Cooper Kupp because he has been announced that he's going to get released, and that was the same thing that happened with Hargrave, and yet he was able to sign. So we're gonna have to wait here a little bit, and I could see that deal getting done today. I could see Minnesota being in on him. I can see who else is there. There's Minnesota. You got New England could be in on him. Baltimore could be in on him. Denver, Kansas City, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Arizona, anybody. I mean, basically any team. Chicago, Detroit, Green Bay, the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Command. Any team's going to be in on him, and I'm not sure that contract's going to be huge because of the fact that he's going to be getting paid a ton from the Rams for just that. So, yeah, but nothing so far. Kind of just waiting. Let's see if we got anything. Nothing so far. Still just waiting. I can't believe I'm pulling this up, but we're gonna try it. Um, CT ESPN has it always has it first. Deal is finalized. Aaron Rodgers as Steelers, 2-year deal. Hashtag CTESPN most trusted source in all of sports. Yeah, that's certainly interesting there. Not sure. Not sure. I don't think it's terrible, but I wouldn't trust it. Vikings beat out the Colts, Patriots, Giants, Seahawks, and Cardinals in a bidding war for Will Fries per Albert Breer. Let's see if he's got anything. We're kind of just waiting here. I'm not sure that we're really going to get anything here for a little bit. Let's see what ESPN's got for us. Texans signed safety MJ Stewart. Mario Edwards is back on a 2-year deal. Will Howard and Laken Tomlinson, Panthers release. The Fulton deal. The Jones deal. The Dolphins just making whatever. Greenlaw. Solomon Thomas. Bengals re-signing Marco Wilson. Vikings Fries. You love to see it. The Vikings get Will Fries. Don't do that, please. Not a whole lot else at the moment. Falcons I had ex-Raiders linebacker Divine Diablo. I don't mind that move. I think they have Caden Ellis over there, and that's about it. I know they have Troy Anderson too, but I mean, Divine Diablo's a little bit like undersized as a linebacker at 6'3", 223 as well. At least he was coming out of college. Maybe he's bulked up a little bit. I can't really. He was pretty young then. Don't really remember. I mean, what is he compared to Pace? Pace is 231 at 5'10". Pace is a little bit bigger, so maybe he's not too tiny. I know he's an athlete. He's definitely a freak athlete out there, so that's kind of cool. Ellis gets to do the dirty work. Maybe he even moves back to safety. Terrell, Clark Phillips on the outside, London, Mooney, McLeod, Penix, Robinson. Yeah, it's a decent team. They do need a center. And then that offensive line's probably set. So I could see Bradbury being a guy there. I could also see that being an Andre James situation. Yeah, but other than that, we'll see what's really going on. Let's see if this Antonio Brown stuff is real. Because I would love for this just to end. It's McCarthy's team. It's not time. Something happened with Adam Thielen. Why are people saying bring Adam Thielen home? I mean, obviously, then every other year since he's left, that Minnesota should bring him home. Yeah, let's try to network a little bit here. We actually do that link first before I start posting that out there. But yeah, let's see if we can get some people in here. Maybe some people want to talk. You never know. Yep, pin. There we go. Pin post. New one. Yeah, reunion on the way. I would not be surprised if that news breaks somewhat soon. Vikings seem like they've been on the horn. I'm not sure Kwesi's slept. See what else we got going on here. On the Pat McAfee show, I guess they had Ian Rappaport on. Let's see what Pat's got. Because we still wait for this Rogers news. Joining us at Richie Paul. Oh, it's myself. That is my other account. Yeah, I bolster myself a little bit sometimes. Oh well. Trying to get it out there. Najee Harrison with the Los Angeles Chargers. That's Jim Harbaugh football. Yes, it is. I don't get the sense that Brock Purdy Steal is imminent right now. It's going to be fascinating to see what number it is. Danny Dimes is coming to your city. Pat McAfee. I love what the Patriots have been doing. I feel amazing about the team right now. Per Boston Connor. Super casual at Rap Sheet. He's been able to join us a couple very busy days. There's still a chance the Rams pull off a Cooper Kupp trade, but I wouldn't be surprised. I know teams have talked to the Rams, but I would expect him to be released per Rap Sheets. Maybe that deal doesn't get done today. The 49ers and Dolphins are definitely in the mix for Joey Bosa. I'm sure the 49ers fans are going crazy right now about losing all of these guys. The really good teams can draft well and let players develop behind them. That is very true. Did everybody know Laremy Tunsil was available? They talked to some teams that were in the tackle market. Several teams had the chance to get Laremy Tunsil, and they decided not to. Yeah, what a weird situation for Laremy Tunsil. I'm not 100% sure on what went on in Texas. Whatever it was, though, it does not seem that he was great in the locker room. I think Rodgers will let them know soon. I think it's a possibility that decision could come today per Rap Sheet. I don't know which Aaron Rodgers. I don't know which way Aaron Rodgers is leaning right now. It's either going to be the Steelers or Giants. I imagine this is a real tough decision. I'm not too sure. I would bet that he probably chooses the Steelers, which would make a lot of sense. Again, let's network. No Rodgers news. Yeah, I that Nate Hobbs deal still kind of gets me too. I'm not 100% sure how to feel about that. The Vikings are in a 3-year Super Bowl window. They are all in. I love it. I bet they're in more than a 3-year Super Bowl window. They just need to draft well. Not a whole lot else going on at the moment. Might be a time for a little bit of a break here. Man, can't believe this guy posted. Come on, big game. Big game Bengal guy that I watch on YouTube. Love to get to be able to network with at some point, but probably won't happen. Aaron Rodgers going to the Vikings would be something. I do think the Vikings can win 12 games with them at QB. I'm not sure. As he posts up Brett Favre stats, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not. I get the appeal of Rodgers, but I don't know what to think about it. All right, with that, I think we're going to take a break here for a second. No news is really dropping, so I'll be back in a couple of minutes. I'm going to run to the restroom and get something to eat probably quick, and then I'll be right back. Alright, let's get back. No real news, no real news so far. Oh, there we go. More moves in San Francisco. 49ers are releasing Leonard Floyd per source. Breaking veteran wide receiver Zay Jones gets around 1 year, $4 million to remain with the Arizona Cardinals. I'm not sure this is real. Source: Minnesota Vikings and New York Jets in discussions for blockbuster trade involving Sauce Gardner. Lots of movement in the last 24 hours, and the cap situation makes it all work. Um, I mean, he said Seattle was moving on. I don't know if we should believe this or not. If this if this ends up being real, I'm not sure what I would think. I don't know. Um, yeah, this will be an interesting one to watch. If something like that happens, I'm not sure. Um, um, yeah, that kind of stuns me. That caught me off guard there. I'm not too sure what to think about that. I'm sure it's not gonna happen. I wouldn't hold my breath if I was a Vikings fan on this. I am just gonna give it a follow, and we're gonna turn on the notifications for him. So if he's posting, we're gonna be able to find him. Um, so let me get this straight. We got yeah, Vikings got Ryan Kelly, Jonathan Allen, Will Fries, Javon Hargrave, Isaiah Rogers, Bubba Bolden, and re-signed Byron Murphy. As long as they have Aaron Jones. I hope not Aaron Rodgers. Um, yeah, Pat McAfee, we got our guy. It's crazy how everybody's moved on from AR so quickly. I wouldn't. This is written like the intro narration to Law and Order. Um, yeah, best players available still are Stephon Diggs, Tevin Jenkins, Asante Samuel, Amari Cooper, Azul Douglas, Cam Robinson, Kendall Fuller, Tyron Smith, Jawan Johnson, Mekhi Becton, Keenan Allen, Russell Wilson, Von Miller, Joey Bosa, Harrison Smith, Calais Campbell, Azeez Ojulari, Demarcus Lawrence, J.K. Dobbins, Stephon Gilmore, and Kevin Zeitler, just to name some of them. I'm sure there are a lot more at this point. If it happens, I will accept fate and trust KOC, but please no. Still no. Jonathan Allen comes back from the torn pec and has a great season. Yes, I would hope so as well, and I think that's the case. DJ Reed, 5'9" menace. We gonna rock. Dude is a menace. DJ Reed's good. Here's another one. Vikings could look to try and trade center Garrett Bradbury after landing Ryan Kelly, mentioned on Score North. Yep. What's crazy is that Bradbury's representative negotiated the Ryan Kelly deal. Now Bradbury could be on the move. Hey, I mean, he gets released. He's probably gonna make a ton of money on the open market. So, um, I wouldn't think too much about it. Um, yeah, I mean, if Aaron Rodgers isn't our quarterback, I don't know who's gonna be. I want him to be the Steelers quarterback. You can have him. You can have him. Um, Again, not a whole lot. There's gonna be. Oh, wait. Oh, Brown breaking former Tampa Bay Bucks linebacker Joe Tyrone, who joins Miles Garrett in the Browns D. Yeah. Okay. Big deals, I guess. I don't know. Um, Yeah, it's kind of odd that we're getting the details of the Daniel Jones deal, but we're not getting the details of Jonathan Allen or Will Fries yet. Maybe they're waiting until tomorrow. But they announced some other stuff. But um, yeah, I'm believing Zach Gatsby right now. He seems to be pretty in on the Patriots and the Vikings for whatever reason that is. Um, all right. Anything else kind of going on? Be nice if I had some people in here to be able to chat with, or it'd be nice if we could get somebody on that wants to stream, but nobody knows who I am, so we'll be fine. We move. We move. Um, yeah, rookie scale contracts are nice. Thank you, Philly, from TJ Gardner Johnson. Got a Super Bowl and now is on his way to Houston. Interesting deal there. Um, yeah, so I think we're just gonna wait here a little bit, see what's kind of going down on the market. Not really any big news. Not seeing anything. The Zay Jones stuff. Yeah, there's not a whole lot going on. Um, yeah. All right. Well, what we can do is we can look around a little bit at some of these other teams, other than the Vikings, which I'm fine with. We can do that. Um, let's kind of take a look here. Nothing, nothing, nothing. Leonard Floyd, I could see him being. I think, yeah, for sure. The Falcons need another edge rusher, but they're trusting David Onyemata. They're gonna trust Rukororo, Brandon Dorless. They gotta trust their guys. They put in some good draft capital, and they also have Zach Harrison too. So I mean, we'll see. I'm not I'm not convinced that Atlanta still stays pat, but they also have to decide if they're gonna cut Kirk or not. The Cardinals look a lot different. We talked about them a little bit yesterday though, so we'll try something else here. Um, let's talk about the Lions. Good team. Good team that I want to talk about. Yeah, Glasgow now the worst part of that offensive line and a pretty good offensive line. I think Mahogany is going to be good. I don't see why he wouldn't be it. I was kind of surprised he was a sixth round pick. Thought he'd been more of like a third or fourth, probably more of a fourth. Yeah, now you have DJ Reed, Terry and Arnold. You have Rakestraw. You have Amik Robertson now. So that's kind of an interesting group of guys. You have Campbell, Alonzo, Anzalone, and you have Derek Barnes, who they brought back. Aleem McNeil, DJ Reader. Now, Muzariki's probably gone, which I would not be surprised to see him go to Jacksonville here in the upcoming couple of hours. Let's go back to New England for a little bit because New England did miss out. They were in on Will Fries. I predicted that's where he was going to go, and it turns out that is not. So now we have Milton Williams, Harold Landry, Carlton Davis still. A lot of the same from yesterday. So, I mean, again, we're just sitting here. We're waiting for some moves to happen. It's been pretty slow. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Commanders maybe even start spending on that edge room there. I mean, I can't believe they're not more in on Bosa. I mean, could they be looking at a Jonathan Jones on the outside? Maybe. Could Asante Samuel be there? Maybe. Could Jonathan Jones go to the Chargers? I could see that as well. I think there's a good option of that. The Chargers need to get some help on that interior too. I think Kenneth Grant's becoming more and more likely by the day. Um, they just haven't done anything to help Herbert either, other than Najee Harris, which I'm not sure is a whole big upgrade over what they had before. Other than the best ability is availability, and that's what he has. Yeah, Schefter just tweeting out who they've cut, who they've traded. So, of the 49ers. Um, Vikesologist, so longer Aaron Rodgers goes unsigned, the higher probability the Vikings are thinking about it. Not sure if he has sources. He definitely could. Um, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't think so. I mean, I think I think Minnesota's probably looking at like a Mason Rudolph, Mac Jones type of deal here, but it's just no news, no news. Um, we'll keep looking at some teams here. The Raiders, interesting team now, bringing in Jeremy Chin. They weren't paying Mo Rig. I wouldn't have done that either. They need a corner again. I chose Asante Samuel to go here, thinking that's still an option. Tyler Lockett, Stephon Diggs, ton of guys still out there for him to go out on the wide receiver market. Um, they need a running back. Give me just 1 second here, real quick. I'm gonna go grab something. Gotta have a turkey bite and something to drink. The reason I find this pretty interesting that this team hasn't done more is because of Pete Carroll being there. I mean, are you really comfortable with Trey Tucker being one of your top guys with Jacoby Myers and Zamir White? No. You've traded away picks. You got Geno. Congratulations, I guess. I don't know. One more thing, I'll be right back though. It does get hard sitting down, so not gonna lie. It's hard on my butt and my back. And this kind of helps me a little bit. Yeah, I'm happy with what the Vikings have done. I've seen some of these teams like the Texans and all these other teams kind of looks like they're tearing it down. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what's going on. There's not a whole lot of news, a lot of speculation going on. Yeah, I'm not sold on anything. I guess right now we'll see. But maybe we should run a mock. Shall we? I think that's a good idea. I think running a mock draft's kind of fun. We'll run mock draft simulator. Yeah, we'll do a 3 round. Why not? Nothing going on. Yeah. So literally nothing. Oh, it looks like they finally got, right before we start, looks like they finally got the Jonathan Allen deal done from Mike Garafalo. Um, Base value on Jonathan Allen's deal with the Vikings is 51 million over 3 years, cash flow of 16.95 and 17 over the next 3 years. Sack incentives and escalators get to the max value of 60. So somebody's saying essentially a 3-year deal worth 51, 17 million AAV is very fair. I would say so. Yeah. I'm not, you can't be mad at it. I mean, it's a couple million saved. And we were, like I said, I was wondering where that was going to be coming from eventually, but it looks like they finally released it. So we'll see. I'm sure he'll be worth it. I think he can do decent. Yeah. So we're gonna keep scrolling here. Um, yeah, and I like the incentives part of everything. I mean, you can. Oh, deal breakdown. Byron Murphy base value of 54 million over 3 years. Cash flow, 20 this year, 15 and 18, up to 4 million in interception slash honors incentives to get to the max value of 66. So again, Minnesota, he might not even see the last year of that deal, depending on how it's all structured with guarantees. 20 million this year, you were kind of expecting. 15 next year. That's not really much of a surprise because of the fact that with the way that he with how good the offense or the free agency class is next year, I'm not too surprised that they're trying to maybe save some money in certain spots. And again, that Allen deal could be a 1-year deal, restructure stuff like that. So it's not, these deals aren't terrible. It's gonna be interesting to see though how much money Minnesota has after the Will Fries deal, and then I wouldn't be surprised if that Javon Hargrave deal is cheaper, on the cheaper end of things, because I'm not sure. Yeah, again, it's like a 3 or 54 for Murphy. So it's really, if you do 3 or 54 divided by 3, you're at 18. So if we're looking at the cornerback contracts at 18 million, he's sitting in the Paulson Adebo range, so he's fine. Like realistically, he's gonna make 20 this year, so he's gonna be up in here. Carlton Davis, he's gonna drop down to 15 next year, which is gonna put him below DJ Reed and below Charvarius Ward and just above Jamal Dean. And then he's gonna make 18 in that last year. So basically, he'll be getting closer to 18 million a year instead of the 22 that everybody originally thought, which ends up being a lot better of a deal. So it's totally possible to see Minnesota continue to make moves this year and next, especially with all the money that they can have, the money they can free up. But we'll do a mock. We'll do a mock here, and there are going to be trades. So 3 rounds, just have some fun. So first up is Cam Ward. I think he's the quarterback off the board. I think he's the best player in the class to this point for the team that he's going to, and not the best player in the class, excuse me. I think that's the most likely position for him to go to is the Titans. They've done nothing to bring in another quarterback. Doesn't sound like they want Wilson. Doesn't sound like they want Rodgers. I'm not surprised that they're actually sitting out this one, and I think they're kind of waiting on next year. So I think that gives you the sense that they are comfortable with not comfortable with where they're at, but the coach and the GM are comfortable with their positions. Obviously, new GM, only a second-year head coach. Now, maybe after year 3, if they sign a ton of guys and nothing's changing, then you can see it. But for now, I think this is probably pretty fair for where they're at. And then I think here you're looking at either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter to the Browns. I'm not sure that Shador's in play here, and I think it's Abdul Carter. There's something to be said if the Browns can bring in Abdul Carter and have Myles Garrett on the other side and have 2 elite edge rushers. That alone could keep them in games, just because you're stopping other teams, and that defensive interior can still be fine. Um, Now you look at the Giants. This is such a door spot. Yeah, I don't really like it. I thought again, I was all in on Darnold going there, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure that Shadur can be the one that saves their jobs. Um, um, yeah, so Dallas just signed Turpin to a 3-year, 18, making him the NFL's highest-paid special teamer. Okay, Dallas really showing where the priorities are. Cowboys gonna cowboy, I guess. They'll finish. I don't know what they're gonna do over there, but New England up on the board. No quarterback left. Jets miss out on a quarterback. I'm not sure they're looking to really trade up to 3 anyway. So if you look at the Patriots here, I'm not sure there's many teams that are looking to trade up. I'm not sure the Patriots are really skipping out on Travis Hunter. He can play both ends of the ball. I'm not sure he's going to. I think you probably want him to be primarily a wide receiver that could play cornerback every once in a while. Um, the Jaguars here, they released their tight end. They brought in De'Ami Brown, and they haven't done anything on their defensive interior. So I think we're going to do Mason Graham here. I want to do Tedrow McMillan. I want to do Tyler Warren to one of these teams. I can't do it. I can't convince myself that that's realistic in that spot, and I think Mason Graham makes all the sense. The Raiders have they have Brock Bowers, excuse me, as we can see here. No wide receivers, so if you're gonna look at it, Tedrow McMillan, I think that makes a lot of sense right now. You bring up the Jets here. The Jets don't have a tight end, but I could also see them trading back in the spot, collecting some picks, maybe taking the tight end later. So you have Fashanu, Simpson, Tippmann, Tucker, and Mitchell. Do the Jets make a trade for Chris Olave? Do they move back? Do they pick? I think here it's probably a trade back situation. Maybe a team's looking for Tyler Warren. Maybe it's a team moving up for Ashton Genty to jump the Bears or the Saints or the Cowboys or something. Maybe it's a team moving up for an edge rusher already. I think the edge rushing class is deep. I'm not sure it's worth trading up for. So I'm not too sure. I could see a lot of teams just having to stick and pick it, like trying to just having to stick and pick here in this draft. So maybe somebody's moving up for Will Campbell. Not that I think the Niners can really afford for that. Yeah, the Colts, I think, kind of put themselves out of range on the idea of a tight end. Or not on a tight end, of like defensive backs here. Like safeties and corners. I'm not sure Malachi Starks is really in play anymore either, which is interesting. So it's a tough spot right now. Like, if I had to take a shot in the dark here, I think they're probably trading back. I just don't know what team's moving up. And if I had to guess a team, it could be the Bears. Uh-oh, what happened? Nothing. Fans are just praising them. Yeah, Vikings cap at 39.7 after Jonathan Allen's 16.2 2025 hit started at 55.9. Hargrave, Kelly, Fries, Murphy deal still out. Okay, so who knows how much Minnesota really has. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see when these deals come in. Yeah, they might be bare bone in it right now and just have to wait. That out. Oh. So with the Jets here, again, I'm not sold on what any one way they could go. I'm not sold that they trade back. I'm not sold on anything. I know I'm taking a while here. Um, I want to do Jahdae Barron. I want to take a tackle. But again, like the Bengals, the Eagles, the Titans trying to move back up, the Jaguars trying to move back up. I'm just going to stick and pick, and they're going to take Armand Membu. I think it was either him or Kelvin Banks there. I've done Kelvin Banks a lot. I like that fit. But I think Armand Membu moves to right tackle, and the Jets just, again, it's a guy from the Lions. The Lions built that offensive line. We'll see what they're looking at, what they're looking like in the future. So, and again, don't be deterred by teams losing cap space. If your team's low on cap space, we're seeing it, I guess, now for this Dave guy saying he's 7.5 on his last scoops. Like Juan Soto has agreed in principle with the Mets, 15 years, 725 to 750. Clay Thompson will be a Dallas Maverick. Um, he said Joe Biden will step down. Vikings to sign Daniel Jones, and Rich Rodriguez agreement to become West Virginia University's next head coach. Announcement officially tomorrow morning. So I mean, he said he's 7.5. Yeah, he's done pretty well. I'm assuming Sauce Gardner is gonna be one that he misses out on. Um, yeah, upgrade. So updated contract terms. Murphy's 3 for 54 and Allen's 3 for 51. All right, back to this. And the Carolina Panthers, they brought in Tershawn Wharton. They brought in a guy that I liked, not at 18 a year. Now the Vikings went and got Jonathan Allen for 17, so it's neither here nor there. But I think you're looking at edge rusher here, and I'm looking at Mikael Williams, or I'm looking at Shamar Stewart. Shamar Stewart he did so well at the combine. He just tested so well. I'm not sure that you can really overlook that. Maybe you trade back here. Maybe you're not comfortable picking anybody. Green Bay be looking to move up for an edge rusher? Not sure. Could the Panthers be looking at cornerback? Could they be looking at wide receiver? Could they be looking at offensive line? Could they be looking at tight end here? And you know what? I think they could be, but they re-signed Tommy Tremble, so no. We are going to go edge rusher, and it's going to be Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. They're going to let him develop. They're going to kind of watch over him, help bring him up, and I think that's a good pick. And then I think Mikael Williams goes next pick to the Saints. The Saints need some help on that defense. Carl Granderson just isn't it. You got Chase Young. You have Godshaw, Brzee. Maybe it could have been corner there. Maybe it's a Jahdae Barron pick. Maybe it's a receiver. It's an O-lineman. I don't know. I'm going to just stick with Mikael Williams. I could have seen it definitely being a Will Campbell pick, but I think I'm going to stick that there. And Ashton Jeanty then falls to the Bears. Phenomenal pick. That's not something that I was anticipating earlier on in the year. Not something I would have thought would have happened, but I think it is a good pickup. I paused that. Yep, so just trying to find some news. Looking there, nothing. 49ers up next. Again, I like reverting back to this. I like reverting to ESPN's rosters of these teams. The 49ers right now could it be corner? Could it be an edge rusher? I think they bring in Joey Bosa. I think you're looking at the offense. I think you're looking at. I mean, this 49ers team still isn't terrible. You're losing a lot of guys. So maybe they do look at. Oh, I keep going to the wrong way. Maybe they are looking at edge rusher here. And I could see it being Mike Green. I could see it being James Pierce. But I think what they're going to want to do is they're going to want to build on the O-line. And I think the best offensive lineman, whether he plays guard or tackle, is Will Campbell. Could he be there to be the successor to Trent Williams? Could he play guard for a couple of seasons and move over to tackle? I don't know. But you have to start thinking about life after Trent Williams. He's 36 and a half. He's going to be 37 by the time the year ends. I think this is his last year. I think it's time for him to hang it up. Yeah, and the Saints easily could have went tight end. I didn't even think of Tyler Warren, but I think that they are going to value the edge rusher a lot more. The Cowboys, what do you even start here with these guys? I don't know. The Cowboys have been such a disappointment. I'm going to hold out hope that they sign Stephon Diggs. For you Cowboys fans out there, I'm holding out hope that you guys get Stephon Diggs. And you know what? I'm going to go a little bit different here than what I think most people would think for a team like the Cowboys. People are going to say, oh, they need offensive line. Oh, they need this. Offensive line's deep. But Jalen Walker, I almost went to a pod gamble, but I meant Jalen Walker, a guy that can play off ball, he's kind of a Micah Parsons-esque kind of player. Played a lot of off ball and edge rusher obviously at Georgia. If you look at his snap counts here, D-line 249, he played in the box 311 times last season. So I mean, I don't see how many sacks he had, but he had a good pass rush grade. Run defense isn't great. He can coverage decently well. So I think getting Jalen Walker in there, and then depending on the package, maybe he drops into being a linebacker that rushes, or maybe he's on the line. I think smarter men than me will figure out how to use him properly. And then I go to the Miami Dolphins. If I'm the Dolphins here, I think this pick's pretty easy. I mean, you have no corners. You have Jonnu Smith, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Malik Washington. I think you're all right on offense, and it's Jahdae Barron. So I think Jahdae Barron coming off the board at 13. And I mean, you look at the guys that we thought would have been coming off the board by now, and this might be just me being stupid. People call it whatever they want. But so far I think this is pretty spot on for what's kind of happened. Will Campbell falls, the Niners pick him up. Jalen Walker falls to the Cowboys. Jahdae Barron falls to the Dolphins. Helps out there, and I think then the Colts pick up Tyler Warren. So, I mean, the Dolphins needed help there, and the Colts need to help it, whether that's Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones. You need another weapon on that offense. And I think Tyler Warren being the best tight end in the class helps a lot. At 6'6", 261. Sorry, my voice is kind of going. It's been talked a lot yesterday. Already been on for 100 minutes today, about an hour and a half plus. Yeah, I like that pick. And now we go on to the Falcons, and I'm not sure where the Falcons go here. Again, there's a lot of needs, whether that's Andre James, they got the linebackers, but you need another edge rusher. You could use another corner. I mean, I'm not sure that Clark Phillips and AJ Terrell are what they're going to be sticking with, but they definitely could, and if that's the case, I think that they go edge rusher here, and they look at Mike Green. Mike Green probably being the best edge rusher in this class, had 17 sacks last season, 32 hurries, 1 batted. Great pass rush win rate, great run defense. Played well against teams like Ohio State. People are worried about the level of competition. Well, he played well against one of the better teams in the nation, so actually the best team in the nation. Yeah, I mean, I think you just got to give him his props and move on with that one. Um, and then you look at the Arizona Cardinals up at number 16. I have kind of a fun one I want to do here, but that would be Jahad Campbell, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure I can, at this point, I'm not sure I can give that to them. And I think it's either a Derek Harmon or a Walter Nolan pick. And I'm going to end up going with the younger guy in Walter Nolan. It definitely could be Derek Harmon, but I like Walter Nolan. I like that he's younger, um, plays well against the run, can develop that pass rush. So I'm a big fan. But yeah, and it looks like only 24 million guaranteed for Jonathan Allen, which is amazing. So he could be here this year, next year, and then probably out. And like we saw with both those deals, both the big money is on the end. So we'll see. But yeah, still no news. Midway through the day, and Minnesota made all the big moves in the morning, and looks like everybody's taking the afternoon off. Um, what's this one saying? Yeah, we'll see. Still no news. The Bengals. Yeah. What a like. I don't even know where you start with this team. It's been quite a dumpster fire now. They brought in Oren Burks. Fine. You have TJ Slayton they brought in, so their defensive interior, I'm sure they're thinking's fine. They have Trey Hendrickson still, although they gave him permission to seek a trade. The cornerback room could need some help, but I think here you need to get somebody else on that defensive line, and I think that's James Pierce. He's a little bit smaller, had 8 sacks last season, a dip, but still a good pass rush grade, good against the run. Played well against Ohio State, against Georgia, Kentucky, Bama, Florida. Not so great against Oklahoma, but so I mean, yeah, it's a good pick. I think you're happy with it, and it is what it is. Like the Bengals, just I don't know what they're doing. I just don't quite understand it. But here's another team that I don't quite understand is the Seattle Seahawks. You've done nothing to help the interior offensive line, and you've done nothing to help your new quarterback. So maybe they're waiting to go fetch some guards until the later rounds, which is fine. They could be looking at this a lot different than everybody else. But then I think they go wide receiver in the first round, and I think they're gonna go with a friend of JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think they're gonna go with Emeka Ibuka, which could be weird. I think that might make some people upset. Like, hey, Luther Burden's there. I think they're looking for more of that guy that's going to be the outside receiver who's going to be able to run with JSN, and that's going to be Darnold's two options is Jackson Smith and Jigba and um, JSN because they have a huge need at that position, and they drafted well with one Ohio State wide receiver. Why not do another? And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are up next, and I'm kind of surprised that I let this guy fall this far. And no, I'm not picking Will Johnson here, surprisingly. It's actually Jahad Campbell. So Jahad Campbell rushes the passer well, um, plays off ball. He can play the D line. Again, another very versatile player. And needing a guy there with like Hassan Reddick and Yaya Diaby and needing a running partner with Levante David, I think this makes a lot of sense. And those corners played decent last year, so I think they might look at corner in the later rounds of this draft. And I think you look at Jahad Campbell and you're like, hey, we're just gonna let this. We're gonna pair a guy with Levante David finally and let him play well, see how he plays, and get after the passer. Just use him as a versatile weapon. And that makes a lot of sense to me there at 19. The Denver Broncos being up next. So the Broncos I could see being a team that looks at corner as well here. Again, Will Johnson's falling. Didn't participate. A lot of questions right now about him. A lot of questions. Long, lean cornerback with elite footwork, quickness, and change of direction fluidity. His limited long speed will create questions about his man coverage reliability in the NFL, but having him play off coverage with his eyes on the ball as a zone scheme wide corner could allow him to make impactful plays more often. I'm not sure they're looking corner here. I think you have Riley Moss. I think they like him. I'm not really sure who else they have playing. Yeah, I mean, they have Jaquan McMillan as well. So maybe he could be a corner here. Maybe this is a Will Johnson landing spot, and they're fine letting Cortland Sutton and Marvin Mims and all these other guys run. But also, could it be tight end Colston Loveland? I think that's a fair question to ask. And I think Colston Loveland does make a lot of sense here, and that's what we're going to go with. I could have went Burden. I think it ends up being Colston Loveland. And I like that pickup a lot. And going to the Pittsburgh Steelers now. Steelers brought in Slay. They have Joey Porter Jr. And quite honestly, if there's any team that feels like a Will Johnson selection, it's going to be the Steelers. I think that's where his draft day slide finally ends, is at the Pittsburgh Steelers at 21. So he falls all the way from being what people would have thought at the beginning of the year to a top 5 pick down to 21. Pittsburgh gets to pair him with Slay and Joey Porter. One plays in the slot, doesn't really matter, I don't think, at that point. Probably Slay, and then you're letting Johnson and Porter on the outside, and that's your cornerback duo for the future. I like that pickup a lot. I think it helps suture up a position of somewhat need for the Steelers now, and just moving forward, they need to figure out then the rest of the team. Like, you have Cameron Hayward's going to be done soon. Your safeties are fine, but your receivers are fine. But who is the quarterback? And this could have been a spot, too, where maybe the Steelers traded up in the draft, but I think they're just going to stick and pick. Let your offensive line play. Maybe it could have been a running back, but I think they're fine letting Jaylen Warren. We've seen them kind of move on from guys in the past like this. Maybe they would have went Amari and Hampton. Maybe they pick a guy later in the draft. I don't know. And then here with the Chargers, I am going to go, is it Matthew Golden or Luther Burden? 6 foot, 195. Kind of looking at who's the bigger one. 5'11", 208. I mean, he's a true all-around athlete with adequate height and weight. He's also agile and explosive, yet powerful and balanced. He has experience and success on and off the line of scrimmage as an ex-flanker and slot receiver. So, I mean, I could definitely... Luther Burden, I think Missouri's quarterback play did not help him a season ago. Just spilled some water. And the Chargers are in such a tough situation because I'm like, I don't know. But this defensive interior line is so... They're so deep at that position in this draft class that I think Luther Burden is the pick there at 22. You miss out on Loveland. You pick up Luther Burden, pair him with Ladd McConkey, whoever else you sign, maybe a Keenan Allen, maybe a Cooper Kupp, who knows. Just looking for news. A lot of Rob Brzezinski love. Yeah, nothing really so far. Green Bay Packers. Always an interesting team. We saw them pick up Aaron Banks. They paid for Josh Jacobs an offseason ago. And it's not a receiver. I'm not sure if it's a corner now either. It could be an edge rusher. But they have Van Ness. I think you kind of try to let him develop. It could be defensive interior as well, but you have Kenny Clark and Devontae Wyatt. So I still do lean towards cornerback here more than anything, and that Chavon Revel, I think, is going to be the pick, and that's what we're going to go with. I like that pick. Tore his ACL, but great player. I mean, Revel is the ideal day two athletic alien to draft and develop despite inconsistent anticipation and technique. In his current form, his physical gifts point to press man coverage being his home in the NFL, but it will be quite the adjustment for him to go from 1 year of experience in the AAC to the NFL, especially off a torn ACL. Yeah, and I guess what did I do for the Dolphins? I gave them Jahdae Barron. Like, we haven't done any offensive linemen yet. And I think that's where kind of this stuff is going to stop here is with the Vikings. So with the Vikings, do they go Tyler Booker? I could see people say teams are loving Booker. I haven't seen anything. I don't doubt that. He's a great player. But it's a deep class. You got a ton of tackles left. Like, holy smokes. Texas could be getting a tackle. Ton of these teams that are desperate for tackles could be looking at one now, just staring them in the face. And I think Gray Zapel is probably moving inside. So I think this is a perfect spot for Minnesota to try to trade out of. And 35 plus 102 going to Minnesota for 23. And the Titans move back up and they are on the clock. So the Titans with their first pick Cam Ward. And then I think now they're going to go defense. I think they're looking edge rusher. Maybe not even looking edge rusher. Who knows? Let's look at the Titans. I probably should have thought this through before I did it. Just looked at teams that were looking to move up. They could definitely be looking at corner. They could be looking at edge. They could be looking at maybe a Malachi Starks. I'm not sure that's the smartest decision. They could be looking interior. Maybe we'll just make that trade back. Give Minnesota their picks back. I made a mistake. Uh-oh. Minnesota's going to give them 102. Forced to trade. Yeah. Trade it. All right. So Minnesota's now going to move back. So, I mean, the Giants. And if the Giants are moving up, what are they looking for? They just brought in Javon Holland. Didn't even really talk about that today. Javon Holland says he wants to play for a real team and goes to the Giants. So you have Holland, Newbin. Maybe they're looking defensive interior. Maybe they're looking at another weapon on the offense. They did just bring in Shedeur. Maybe they're looking at interior defensive line. Maybe with 34 and 65. Let's look at the market for that. NFL picks trade chart. And teams can obviously overpay. If the Giants called the Vikings up, we're like, hey, we want to move up to 24. Going from, so 24 is at 740 to 50 to 560. So 740 to 560 is about 180. So if you're looking at what 180 is, that's about pick 82. So maybe Minnesota gives up like a future 4 and a future 5. And then you get that done. And then the Giants can move up. And I think if the Giants are moving up here, they're kind of probably looking to get somebody next to Dexter Lawrence. I would think they're maybe looking at a weapon as well in the offense. And if you're going to do that, I think Matthew Golden makes a ton of sense. I think teams are going to like him. But I think you're also looking at maybe replacing Evan Neal. Maybe somebody moves into guard. And I think if that's the case, let's go offensive tackle. And they're going to get Josh Simmons. And Josh Simmons is going to go play right tackle for them. And then you're going to get Evan Neal kicking into right guard. Maybe that suits him better. Maybe he plays better at right guard. He's 6'7", 350. So maybe not. Maybe it doesn't suit him, but I think you at least have to try it. I mean, are you really going to give up on Evan Neal now? I mean, I'm ready to give up on Ed Ingram. But Evan Neal was picked with a top 10 pick, right out to the top 10. Yeah, pick number 7. So I think that makes a ton of sense. And Boom. Then the Houston Texans pick up Kelvin Banks. And I like this. I like that pickup. Obviously now since Larry Tunsil's gone, but I think Kelvin Banks is maybe he would have been a better pick. Maybe you switch him and Simmons around, fine, whatever. But I think Josh Simmons is probably going to get a little bit more love than what Josh Simmons is going to get. And this offensive line needs it bad. They need some help. Maybe that kicks Tyus Howard back in. Maybe that kicks Blake Fisher into guard. Who knows? But they definitely need to do something. And let's look at the Rams now. The Los Angeles Rams are on the clock. And I could definitely see this being a cornerback spot. I think it needs to be a cornerback spot. I think there's no doubt it's a cornerback spot. It's just a matter of if there's a cornerback there that they're really willing to take, and I think that's Maxwell Harrison. Benjamin Morrison, I didn't do anything during the combine. Not even sure if he's having a pro day. It's hurting his stock, and Maxwell Harrison tested well. Speed can play in the man, so we'll see. I think that's a great pickup, though. I think that makes a lot of sense, and yet again, I think Benjamin Morrison, I think, falls. I think he's going to fall out of the first round. I think not testing everything's going to hurt him. I think Will Johnson not testing and all the concerns are already hurting him. So we'll see how this works out, but Maxwell Harrison's a pick at 26, and the Baltimore Ravens do what they do best, and they're going to pick Nick Emenware, safety out of North Carolina. Tested phenomenally at the combine. Good coverage grade, good in run defense. I mean, it's just what they do. Marcus Williams sounds like he's getting released if he hasn't already. So I'd be looking for that to be coming out. But yeah, it's interesting to see, and I don't know. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me there. Nick Emenware, and then it allows Kyle Hamilton to go and play his traditional role in that defense. I think he was trying to cover up a lot for what was Marcus Williams last offseason, so we'll go with that. And the Detroit Lions are on the clock, and they need an edge rusher. Yeah, you can tell me we got Marcus Davenport, we got DJ Reed, whatever. You need somebody that's going to rush the quarterback, and I like Jack Sawyer. I also like JT Tuimoloau, but I think Jack Sawyer is probably the pick here. And the Washington Commanders, you need an edge rusher. I'm not sure there's anybody left that's really going to be that guy. I mean, Donovan Ezaraku maybe. I could see that being a nice pick for him. He is 6'2", 247, young. I could see JT Tuimoloau. He's 6'5", 269, a little bit bigger. Get a spot starting / rotational floor out of him. He's a good day 2 prospect to bet on because you'll get Tuimoloau presents a good floor for an edge rusher and a 4-3 defensive front. Pass rush win percentage has been average over the last 2 years. Let's cut a few cleanup sacks on his stat sheet, but he improved his true pass rush in areas of 2024. Let's look at Donovan Ezaraku. Ezaraku is a smaller outside linebacker type edge rusher who can struggle with the power aspects of the game. However, his quick, smooth style paired with football IQ and some very nice bend make him an ideal 3-4 pass rush type of defender to draft on day 2. Well, he's going day 1, and he's going to the Commanders. Donovan Ezaraku fits exactly what that mold would be for them, and I think that makes a ton of sense. And then boom, Malachi Starks has a draft day slide coming from being one of the top players in the class, falling to the Bills. Bills say, hey, we're going to stop you there. And they're getting a new safety in a terrible safety room. And Malachi Starks, I think, is going to get overlooked. It's going to be that prospect fatigue that we see every single year. And I think it just makes a ton of sense for the Bills to take him. They need safety, and he helps suture that up at least a little bit. Moving back to the Kansas City Chiefs now. You got Chris Jones. You need an edge rusher. You need a guy that's going to get to the quarterback. Do they get Derek Harmon? Do they get Kenneth Grant? Could they go after Tyler Booker? Are they fine letting Sumataiya play? Are they fine? Are they ready? Do they want to give Gray Zabel a chance? I don't know. But I am going to go with Derek Harmon here. I think he is a very good player. Older prospect, but he does well in pass and against the run. So I think that's a good pickup. Get some interior pressure. You got Karlaftis. You have Felix and Felix and Duque Ozama, I think, the guy from Kansas a couple years ago, and that leads to the Philadelphia Eagles taking probably the best interior offensive lineman. Gray Zabel can play center, can play guard. He's got a He's just, yeah, 23. They're probably letting Mackay back to the walk. Smart move. I like it there. I think that's a great pickup for them, and I think it makes a ton of sense. Um, Vikings at around 50 million in cap space for 2025 after Jonathan Allen and Byron Murphy Jr. factored in. Still waiting on Theo Jackson, Ryan Kelly, and Will Fries to surface, but Allen and Murphy cap hits low for 25. Yeah, what are they kind of saving for? Maybe they're looking at Cup. Maybe they're looking at, I don't know what they could be looking at. I think they're looking at another guard. Maybe they're looking at another defensive interior lineman. Who knows? But we'll see. Um, Cleveland Browns now up on the board. I could see this being a Jackson Dart pick. Very easily could see this being Jackson Dart. I don't think it is. I could see this being Kenneth Grant. I don't think it is. I think it's Omarion Hampton. I think Omarion Hampton makes a ton of sense for the Browns. You're probably starting Kenny Pickett. Maybe they bring in another quarterback. You don't really have the receivers, but there is something that you guys love to do, and it's run the football. You have a decent line. You have Jerome Ford, who, yeah, don't go get Omarion Hampton, who could be a top 5 running back in the NFL one day because of Jerome Ford. I'd love to hear somebody say that, but yep, I think that's a great pick. And then I think Minnesota picks up Tyler Booker at number 34. The Titans now picking at 35. They got their quarterback. Now, what are they looking at? You have Kenneth Grant still here. Darius Alexander still here. I think they're looking at an edge rusher here. Maybe they would have went after Donovan Ezaraku. Maybe they're looking at Princely Umami-Ellen. He's like a specialized finesse pass rushing outside linebacker at 3-4. If you want him to be more versatile than that, you might be disappointed in the lack of consistency. However, if you put him in that role correctly, he can be a backfield difference maker for you on some of the most pivotal plays of the game. 11 sacks, good pass rush, decent against the run. Maybe you're looking at Nico Scorton. Brings an alluring combination of overall size and pass rush, moves to the edge spot, which is some ideal versatility. And I think that's kind of what the Titans need to look for. And I think Nico Scorton makes that a possibility. And I like that a lot. So let's look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. So again, Jaguars went Mason Graham in round 1. Maybe they would have went differently if they knew that Kenneth Grant was here, but Mason Graham, I think you're not disappointed with. And I think this could even be them looking O-line here. Does Donovan Jackson make sense? He could go and play guard. He could play tackle. We've seen him play tackle. He's even listed on PFF as a tackle. I think that combination of tackle or guard makes a lot of sense. They did bring in Makari. They have Ezra Cleveland, so probably not. Maybe they look at tight end here. Tight end, I think Mason Taylor goes higher than what people think. I think there's a lot of different ways they could go. Harold Fannin probably goes higher than what most people think. Harold Fannin played very well last year. 6'3", 230, though. He's a little undersized. Mason Taylor is 6'5". He's more of a traditional tight end. I think they're in kind of a tough spot with how the board has fallen. I mean, Tyleik Williams, they probably would have liked maybe then not to take Mason Graham, but it's Mason Graham. They're not going to be complaining about that. So maybe now this is a cornerback spot, whether that's Trey Amos, 6'1", 190. I know they brought in Jordan Lewis, just Anthony Monteric Brown. Yeah, you brought in Jordan Lewis on $10 million a year. Maybe he's just going to play the slot. So maybe you're looking for an outside corner, and that could be Darian Porter. Maybe you're looking at Porter committed to Iowa State as a wide receiver and played mostly on special teams before moving to cornerback in 22. His primary role remained special teams until 24 when he was a full-time starter. He's a rare prospect in many ways. The first in his elite track background, which gives him great explosiveness and recovery speed. The second is his measurables, his height and arms, ranking above the 95th percentile. And I think that's just a pick that you could see the Jaguars making early on day 2. And it's kind of, hey, he works out, you try to develop him, it could be a huge success. The Raiders are up yet again, and they went Tedero McMillan. So I think here you're probably going corner, and I think it's Azari Thomas. Thomas brings ideal length to the cornerback position with the 85th percentile arms. He uses those well and effectively at the line of scrimmage at press coverage with massive hands that can really knock receivers off their routes and out of their releases. I like this pick. He's been a riser throughout the process so far this year, and I think it makes a lot of sense for him here. And it's something that the Raiders definitely need an upgrade on. And I think Donovan Jackson could be the next pick also as well for the Patriots, but we're going to go with Josh Connerly. He made waves as being the guy that got absolutely bull rushed by Mike Green at the Pro Bowl or at the Senior Bowl, but I think he's he's definitely still a very good prospect. So no news. Bears are up. So they signed Deo Odenbo. They have now drafted their guy in Ashton Genty. Could this be a cornerback? Could it be a linebacker spot? Could see that. Could it be wide receiver? Could see it. And that's what I think we're going to do here. I think they are going to take another young wide receiver to pair with Caleb Williams and give him all the help he needs. And this time, I think it's Alec Amano. We'll run with that. And I think that's a good pick out of Stanford. Probably ends up playing the slot for them. I like Matthew Golden still. I still think that's a great pick that they could have had, but I think they're looking at more possession. They have kind of their guys that are running downfield as bigger guys with Odunze and Moore, and I like that pickup a lot. Probably should have been Kenneth Grant. Idiot. Yeah, let's just be done. I hope nobody goes back and watches this live, but yep, no news. I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit, so we might end up taking a break here a little bit. In terms of Byron Murphy, deal with the Vikings, $34.78 million fully guaranteed. Void years from 2028 to 2030, $4 million each year in incentives based on INTs. His 2025 cap hits $6.94 million. Wow. And I'm sure he'll end up reworking that deal. Am I really? Yeah, I'm not muted, am I? Just checking. Yeah, I'm not muted, am I? Just checking. But yeah, Byron Murphy's cap hit of 6.94 this year is oddly low, unless if they're going to plan on letting Will Fries all hit this year. The Allen deal seems to be pretty cheap as well for the moment. So it's kind of interesting. I wonder what they are saving for. Jonathan Allen's deal over 3 years, only 23.5 of that's fully guaranteed, and Yeah, he's getting 1.5 million this year. 3 million, or no, those are his incentives. His base. Then he's getting 16 next year and 16 the year after. I'm not sure. Minnesota's gonna be. I'm not sure if they're gonna be tight on cap next year. I mean, we can look. I'm sure they have cap space next year, which is interesting if they do. I mean, they came into this offseason with around 58. Next year they have an extra 30, and the cap's probably projected to go up. So I mean, again, you're gonna have Brian O'Neill. Van Ginkel's contract's up. O'Neill's probably gonna take a restructure. Maybe Jefferson takes a restructure next. Like if we look at 2026, if you look at a Jefferson restructure, 18 million they can save. Excuse me. Look at a Gennard restructure, they can save 12. O'Neill is either gonna have to get extended, and that can lower the cap hit. You can restructure Josh Oliver, and maybe he gets cut this offseason and creates cap space. But yeah, I am kind of wondering what is all this cap being saved for? And I think it could be in Asante Samuel. Um, I think that's a very realistic possibility that they're looking at Asante Samuel. They're looking at maybe Jair gets released. I think they think he's going to get released. Yeah, it's interesting to see with what Minnesota has that they are spending all this. Because you look at right here, what does it say? It's saying 49ers gutting themselves. Micah Parsons responds with, "No more rookie QB. Lol. Welcome to reality." It is reality. Once that rookie contract's up, you can't have guys making a crap ton of money. And yeah, Rob Brzezinski strikes again. He's the Vikings capologist guy. He works the numbers and does everything that they need, and it's working. 6.4 million cap hit for Jonathan Allen this year, 21.6 cap hit in 2022 and a half. I'm almost positive Josh Allen will not see $21.5 million next year. He will more than likely either A, be getting cut, or B, he'll be getting released, or he'll be getting cut, or he'll be getting a restructure on that contract. That's just my opinion on that. There's no way I think he sees anything like that. And with the cap going up next year, maybe he does, but I kind of doubt it. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I'm excited to see it come in, because then that'll work into, we can play with this a little bit and see how much next year he can be getting cut at, what Minnesota saves, what they end up giving what they end up having to eat if they cut him. But it's been a pretty slow day. No Aaron Rodgers news, no news on much of anything. To say the least, I'm not having a lot to talk about. Kind of hoping some deals get done. I could be getting a flurry. Um, um, Browns will probably have QB Kirk Cousins by the weekend. Is he getting released? Are they going to trade for him? If he got released, I'd like to see him come to Minnesota as a backup. But I mean, the Browns just traded for Kenny Pickett, so um, I don't know. We'll see. Aaron Rodgers not expected to Vikings per Tom Pelissero, JJ McCarthy plus backup. Rodgers to Steelers or Giants per Ian Rappaport. Yeah, I'm not sure where all this Rodgers to Minnesota stuff keeps coming from. But again, all this money, I think again you're looking at Green Bay. They're probably gonna be drafting a corner. They signed a corner already. I think there's a big possibility that Jair Alexander gets released, especially after all the stuff that's gone on between him and the Packers these past couple of weeks and since the season. So I mean, if Green Bay's if Green Bay wants to release him, I'd take him. But it's either him or Asante Samuel, I think, at this point. Whoops. But yeah, not a whole lot. I mean, kind of just waiting for news. It's about 2 o'clock on Central Time, and nobody's really got anything. Minnesota Vikings and New York Jets in discussion for block. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what Minnesota's holding all this money for, is Sauce Gardner. If that's the case, I don't know what I would do. Let's look at that. I could not even fathom if he came over to the Vikings. Is he still on a rookie deal too? I'm sure he'd need a new deal. His pass rush grade, his coverage grade's fine. 34th. I mean, he's been better in years past. Let's look at 23. Yeah, 90 coverage grade in 23, 90 and 22, still in that rookie deal. He's eligible for the extension. A Sauce Gardner extension would be massive. And see, because if he's a free agent next year, then we can maybe get a look at his market value of a predicted extension for him. But if Minnesota's really looking at Sauce Gardner, they're going to be moving pick number 23, which that means Blake Brandle's probably starting at left guard, which is fine. But that means you're really setting yourself up for Super Bowl or bust. Maybe this Dave guy's got something. I don't know. Their OC, well, he says the signs have always been there. Their OC is nice. He's probably one of the best OCs I've played against, like ever. High praise for Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell from Jets star CB Sauce Gardner. Agrees he's one of the best out there. Wow. Yeah. I mean, I'd be ecstatic to see a guy like Sauce Gardner play for the Vikings, but at the same time, I wouldn't hold my breath that that's the case. I'd be more inclined to believe that it's saving money for Jair or maybe another guard like Mekhi Becton or maybe another guard like Brandon Scherf for Kevin Zeitler, and then let some go BPA. BPA's best player available in the draft. Yeah, so here's Sauce. I mean, if the Jets really are not looking to re-sign him and they think, hey, we're going to bring in Jahdae Barron, Sauce is going to be getting that $22, $23 million deal. He might even break CJ Horn's 25. I mean, I don't know. It's just that's a lot of money for the Vikings to try to bring on, but we'll see. Again, I'm not holding my breath. I'd be more inclined to believe it's for Cooper Kupp and a couple of other guys. Yeah, it's pretty cool that people freaked out about Byron Murphy getting 22 and it's actually 18. Seen a ton of stuff on that. It's kind of cool. I like that. Like that Minnesota figured out a way to work the cap. I think the Vikings would probably be satisfied. Yeah, they could be. I'd I'd like to see Tyler Booker be the pick in the draft in the second round, but again, you never know why they're saving so much money. Who knows? Um, Whoa. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna skip over that. That's pretty detailed stuff there. There was some level of interest in guard Tevin Jenkins and interior defensive lineman Levi and Wuzuriki from the Vikings if they didn't land Will Fries and Jonathan Allen. Darren Wolfson mentioned on Score North. It seems like that was their plan B. Well, they didn't have to go plan B. It's nice that they got to go plan A, especially if you're a Vikings fan. Um, who else do we got? Colts QB Anthony Richardson is ready to roll and is fully embracing a quarterback competition with Daniel Jones. That's nice. I mean, not sure why they paid Daniel Jones 14 million and let the whole entire interior offensive line walk, but to each their own. Vikings grab Will Fries, 5 years, 88 million. Beautiful. And there it is, 1 year deal with the Colts for Daniel Jones. Um, yeah, I'm not sure why Vikings fans would be pissed that Daniel Jones left, but um, yeah, the Bears have had a really nice offseason. Ben Johnson, Joe Tooney, Jonah Jackson, Drew Dahlman, Deo Denbo, and Grady Jarrett. I think that means Ashton Genty's the pick in the draft now. Makes a lot of sense. I like that pick a lot. Like it a lot. Chauncey Goldston going to the Giants. It's nice. I love the Vikings roster as is. and they are nowhere near close to being done. It will be nice to approach a draft without immediate needs for one, so it's much easier to project fits that can develop than hoping someone is NFL ready and everything immediately translates. Very true. Kenyon Green has been absolutely terrible since being drafted 15th overall back in 2022, so naturally Jeff Stoutland will turn him into an all pro. Probably. Wouldn't be surprised if they go after Eddie Griffin as well and have a little bit of competition. Can we get some news? Can we get some news, please? Yeah, I'm not too sure why the Vikings are saving so much cap, but people are thinking that something crazy is about to happen. So we'll see. All right, I think we're gonna end that there. I think I'm gonna go make a video. We're gonna try to do that real quick, and then I'll figure out an idea of something for a concept and take a break here for a second, think of a video idea, and come back, post that, and then maybe come back to live stream later tonight or if something big happens. So, till then.